I am recording this video to share some things that I've been through, and I'm doing that because I've seen a lot of videos and comments lately from a lot of girls who are struggling with eating disorders. And I had an eating disorder when I was younger, and I kind of wanted to share, let me tip this a little bit, I wanted to share how I got free from it and don't have it anymore and don't even struggle with it anymore. And that's kind of the point of my video, is because the people that I've seen who are commenting and posting videos, they're really struggling with it, and it's hard. That is a tough thing to break. And I'm concerned because the comments in the videos seem to show an acceptance, like they've just accepted that they have this and that they're going to struggle with it their whole lives. And I want to share my experience and let you know that it doesn't have to be that way. You do not have to struggle with that your whole life. This video, honestly, is for the people who are now struggling with eating disorders, okay? Everybody else, you're free to watch it and comment, as long as you don't say anything that will have an adverse effect on them, because that's a life-threatening disease, disorder, or whatever you want to call it. My junior year in high school, I don't remember when it started, but it was my junior year in high school that I actually had bulimia, like full force, major bulimia. And at my lowest weight, I was 87 pounds, and still thought I was fat. When you're struggling with an eating disorder, there's a lot of shame involved with bulimia. And anorexia is a different animal. I mean, they get lumped together a lot, but I've struggled with both, but bulimia was the primary one. I know with the anorexia, you're not really ashamed of it. You think that you've just got more self-control with anyone else. At least I did. That was my thinking. And with bulimia, you're kind of ashamed of what you're doing, and it's hidden. And just the fact that it's hidden, that's what keeps you locked and stuck in that place right where you are, and it just gets worse and worse. Because anything that's hidden, you know, it's in a dark place, and it has free reign, and there's no light shining on it to expose it, and you can't remove it until you expose it. And I am using biblical principles as usual. And that is a biblical principle, is if you ever want to get free from something. I know, like now, there are things in my life that God has been exposing to me, and I'm not happy about them. I wish they weren't there. But He exposes them so that He can remove them. Because you can't get past what you don't acknowledge. And with bulimia, you may have acknowledged that there is a problem, but you don't know what to do, and you don't talk to anyone because you could be embarrassed or ashamed or whatever your reasons may be. Again, I'm speaking from my experience. And specifically, I'm going to try and make a long story short, my parents found out what was going on. They sat me down, they prayed, and I was immediately healed from it. And I know, and I'm going to address this in a direct manner towards you right now who are struggling with this, and the beliefs that I believe that you have in your mind right now about it, your fears, the reason you hold on to that. Number one, you probably already know that eating disorders are control issues. Yes, it's about your weight, but you may not have even recognized this yet. It's something that you don't always recognize until later. That at some level in your life you're feeling out of control. The problem with it is you've taken food and your belief that here's something I can control. I can control my food intake and I can control my body weight. But you don't have control because it now controls you. I ask you to hear me out all the way to the end so I can share with you my experiences over the last, it was over 20 years ago that initial problem started. Well, actually, the wrong thinking started way before that. And it does start with wrong thinking. You're believing lies about yourself, about your body, about who you are. A lot of times you may feel unlovable or like unworthy, or you're just beating yourself up. A lot of times it's a perfectionist mentality. So that was somewhere around 1984 or 85. That would have been. Okay, so it's over 20 years ago. And I remember being afraid of actually not having the eating disorder anymore because I was afraid I'd gain weight. It's just so strange that that's the mindset that keeps you stuck with this thing that has control of you. And it's just fear. And for the record, I did gain weight. I needed to gain weight, obviously. Like immediately, all of a sudden, the symptoms were completely gone. Gone. No more binging and purging. No more obsessing over my weight. No more looking in the mirror and hating what I looked like, no matter what size I was. And the fear was that I would get fat. Well, you know what? That never happened, okay? And I see my shadow moving again here. Let's see if I can adjust this. Let me think for a minute here. I'm going to give you some scriptures, okay? And this is what I use because I actually went through it twice. Yes, God immediately, miraculously healed me. But there's a scripture in the Bible that talks about when something of that nature has, it talks about it occupying you, like being in you. And it talks about strongholds and things like that. And it is a stronghold because it's a stronghold on your mind. It's a mindset, a stronghold that you are believing. And it talks about when you get rid of that, if it's done like the way it happened with me, like just went, just like that. But that disorder, whatever, disease, is always wanting to come back. And it waits. And it comes back when it finds the house, meaning this body. The Bible talks about the house a lot, meaning our body, you know, the temple, whatever. And it finds that place where it once lived empty and swept clean. It's been cleaned out, it's empty, it's gone. And it comes back, and it brings more with it. More issues, more disorders, more whatever, if that house is empty and swept clean. What that means is you emptied it out, but you didn't fill it back up with the things you should be filled with. And I'll just say me, I got rid of the wrong thinking, but I didn't replace it with the right thinking. I just kind of avoided for a while. And just didn't get my act together. It was God decided to step in, set me free from that thing, but the thinking was, on a lot of levels, was still wrong. So I got married when I was 20 years old, which I don't recommend for anyone, okay? You got a lot more growing to do. So I had a lot of issues going into that marriage. And my daughter is from my first marriage. When I was pregnant with her, I got bad morning sickness. Triggered it again. So you now got morning sickness, which, hello, I used to binge and purge, and I'm now gaining weight. So I had 9 months, 8 months, I had her a month early, for those wrong thought patterns to come back in. Because I had never really changed them. I just avoided them. And I'm going to go scripturally again. The scriptures talk about when it comes back the second time, it's much worse than the first. I lived that.